Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Love of Business podcast at prconnectionsradio.com. My name is Maria Miko Faith, and I will be your host today. I am an entrepreneur, spiritualist, and content specialist, and it is my pleasure to introduce Liz Delsignore.
There you go. You actually got the name.
Yay! I listened carefully.
That's good.
Awesome. Well, Liz, so word is that you got started in IT and technology and programming when you were 12 years old. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it started actually with a game. It's a little chat room game, and it's being rebuilt now because Adobe's actually retiring Flash at the end of the year. But it's a game called Have a Hotel. And it was more of a millennial thing. There's not a lot of people, not as many people on it anymore, but there were a number of people, 12, 13, 14, middle and high school age that I knew they were building websites and everything. And I eventually got to the point, I'm like, man, I'm tired of this nonsense. Like, if you can do it, I can do it. So I started learning how to do web design when I was like 12 years old. I've had like a love-hate on and off relationship for all these years, and then I remember my dad and I were having a conversation one day, and he's like, "I could see you becoming like a software developer or something." And man, I fought this man tooth and nail, and I was like, "No, there's no way it's gonna happen. Like, that's just way too much work. It's way too much school." And I should have listened to him because that's exactly what happened.
What, do you think your path might have been a little smoother if you had listened to him?
I don't know. I mean, I think everybody has that bratty teenager stage that they don't want to listen to their parents anyway, even though I love my dad, may his soul rest in peace. But, it was just like, you're not going to believe anything at 12 or 13 years old that your parents tell you because you know everything, right?
Right. But in a sense, you took his advice anyway on the down low and like went ahead and started working on your own projects.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how I got my first client. I wasn't even a programmer in business or like web developer. I had a tutoring company at the time. My first business was tutoring, and I met another tutor at a networking event. And in Vegas, it's kind of unusual to have like two private tutors at the same event because it's not like a huge field. And so he was like, "Oh, I like your website. Who did it?" I'm like, "Me," because I at that point I was already into it a number of years. And he's like, "Oh, I like that." And he's like, "Can I have you do mine?" And I'm like, "Sure." I had no idea what to charge. And so I asked like, "Well, who quoted you so far?" Because I knew that much, that it was based on a quoting system. And then he told me the name, and I was like, "Excuse me?" And like, I actually knew the person. And I was like, "Well, how much did she quote you?" And he's like, 1,500. I'm like, "I'll do it for 750 and do it in a weekend." And I was like, "What?" I'm like in my head, I'm like, what am I doing? Oh my God, I'm like really about to do this. And he's like, "Done." Paid it all up front. And I barely ate, slept, like drank anything. I sat on my laptop all weekend, and I just straight coded this website. So this was like on a Thursday, like lunch hour meeting. And then, so Friday through Sunday I worked on it. Monday morning, like early Monday morning, I was putting on the finishing touches of the site. And I'm like, "All right, it's done." And he looks at it, he's like, "Oh my God, it's gorgeous." And so he was like over the moon. And then Wednesday he calls me, and I'm like, and he's like, "Liz, what did you do?" And I'm like, "What do you mean, what did I do? All I did was build your website." "Well, I somehow got like 8 new students in the 2 days that it's been done. What did you do?" I'm like, "What?"
What a great story. That's awesome. And so what did you do?
I still can't figure it out. I mean, all I did was like build a website. It looks good and it works on, mobile devices and everything. And I didn't do anything crazy. And I was like, "Well," he's like, "Well," I'm like, "Apparently something worked." And then he's like, "Well, you need to do this for a living." I'm like, "Really?" And like, the only reason I kind of hesitated was because like I knew people who were in this space, and, I knew about like all the struggles they had, like, getting people to pay up and all this other nonsense. So I had kind of a hesitation for a little bit. Mm-hmm. But I thought about it for like a month and a half, and then I'm like, you know what? I just like killed it on the first client that I never expected to get. Screw it.
That's awesome. Yeah. Wow. That is really awesome. So you said something a little bit earlier that made me realize that you have not only a love of technology, but also a love of business, because you said you were in the tutoring space since you were
19.
19. So, right. So how was that?
It was good. It was interesting. I learned a lot about, how people learn and retain information over the long term. My students were younger. They were like, well, not younger, but like middle and high school were like the bulk of them. And then I had a couple college students. The thing that got me out of the industry was there was a student that he lived near Southern Highlands, and he had so much potential. I could see him going on to do like all these crazy cool things. And he's like, I want to be basically like aerospace engineer. And I'm like, I was like, wait, all right, we need to have a serious conversation about this right now, dude. You're in 8th grade, and I'm here as a math tutor, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but you need to eat, sleep, breathe mathematics and sciences if you're going to touch an engineering degree. And at the time I was like a freshman in college, and he was, it was 8th grade years. He was trying to get into high school, and I'm like, look, dude, I have friends who are working on their civil engineering degrees, mechanical engineering, electrical, advanced degrees that they have to take their fundamentals of engineering, their FE, before they even graduate college. And I'm like, I am friends with these people who are going to be future engineers. And I am telling you, this is how they are. I'm not trying to, necessarily put you down. By all means, if that's what you want to do, go for it. But this is how they are. This is the life they live. And this is the life I live too. I was struggling in my own calculus class at the time. And it's not because I'm not good at math. It was a lot of it has to do with the instructor. And I said, this is just the reality of what you are up against if you seriously want to do that. And I don't try to discourage, but I'm like, if you don't think you have what it takes to do that, you might want to look at something more attainable, or at least something more compatible with you.
Right. Because you got to be realistic. Like you're saying, you got to love what you're going to do.
Yeah, you really got to love math. And these people have already been in advanced math since middle school usually. And, his mom, I went up to her and, because she would pay me, and she's like, well, thanks, but I don't think you can continue. And I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of agreeing in there. I didn't really beat him down. I wasn't trying to beat him down, but I had the come to Jesus talk with him. And she's like, she said the same thing I was thinking. He has a lot of potential, but he won't do his work. And I said, dude, I can't take your classes for you. I've already taken these classes and I've already passed them with flying colors. That's exactly the problem. You have to do the work yourself because no one else is going to get that A for you.
Right. Exactly. And I can see how that, your way of communicating the reality of the situation in your tutoring business translated into your digital marketing.
Yeah. And I left that student's house, and I was in tears going, I was in tears going back onto the I-15 ramp and going home, because I was like, I can't take this anymore. My heart can't take this.
Right.
It just killed me to see so many students just throw away their potential or not apply themselves. And a lot of it, I saw some of myself, when I was younger, and it's just I can't do this. I can't.
Right.
It's not right. For me.
That was an insightful moment, I bet.
Yeah. And, I called a friend, and they were like, why are you crying? I'm like, because I can't see people throw their potential away like this anymore. I just can't do it. Wow.
And so in digital marketing, you get to celebrate the potential and celebrate the, the good points.
Yeah.
The selling points, right?
Yeah, but it's also, hey, look, and this is an example I use a lot. It doesn't matter how much money you dump into marketing, advertising, PR. If you don't have a good product, you're just having a really expensive crap. And insert, a more vulgar word there, but
yeah.
It's just like the education system in Nevada, unfortunately. I like to use this as the example because we dump so much money in, we're going to improve education, and yet nothing actually improves. I'm like, this is exactly the kind of thing that you're trying to avoid.
Right. And so in marketing, in your digital marketing, how do you work with your clients? How do you, let me rephrase that. How do you choose your clients to work with given that product is really important?
I don't like, at the moment I'm trying to go after the real estate niche, but overall it's just a matter of, like, obviously there's the fact of, can you afford me? But second of all, are you willing to work? And I mean really willing to work, not just like, you spend a minute maybe, or a couple of minutes like responding to my email. It's, are you willing to answer the hard questions to actually market something proper?
Wow, that's so important.
Yeah.
Because so many people, I in my experience, who want a website, who want to start a new business, they think that the web designer is just going to come up with everything for them.
No.
And that's not the role of the web designer or the web developer. The role of the web designer and developer is to support the product that's already there, support the business plan that's already there.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
so,
and it's one thing if someone says, hey, like, I don't have anything in particular in mind, but this is like what my business is and what I'm about. And if I can vibe with them enough, I'm like, all right, I got you. Just, give me a little bit of time and I'll see what I come up with. I'm good at that. But like at the same time, like we're saying, it's okay. So what's your USP? What's your unique selling proposition? Well, I'm different from this competitor. I'm like, no, listen here, honey. Nobody cares. Okay. You have to make them care. We have too many things vying for our attention these days. Nobody cares unless you are special, and you have to tell them why you're special.
Right. So true. So I can totally see how you got the title Tech Guru.
Yeah. And Snarky Marketer too. That was a guy thing. He came up with that.
Oh yeah. Nice. Very, very well done. So you had mentioned in this press release that people in Las Vegas and elsewhere really get jerked around by unscrupulous marketers. And you said, I want people to know how it really is. A lot of business owners just don't know what they don't know about things such as search engine optimization and Google rankings. A lot of the focus of my show will be on the digital side because that's what you do. Mm-hmm. So do you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, so a buddy of mine, I don't do paid advertising. I have a buddy of mine who does it. And I sent him basically recently a white label agreement saying, if I get any clients and I send them to you and they sign my contracts, but you do the work, like, he was like, all right, I'm fine on board with that. But I was someone I know in the networking group, and I'm not going to name names anywhere here, but he has a commercial cleaning company, and he's like, Liz, I need to somehow promote my business online with like paid advertising to, get more leads in business. And I'm like, well, what's your budget? And he's like, I'm not sure. And so I asked my colleague who does paid advertising, I'm like, well, what do you recommend in terms of a budget? Like, I'm willing to give you this client, like we can work together if he agrees on the budget and everything. And then I come to find out that somebody else had charged him $900 a month for like 4 months, didn't get him a single lead of business. Like, not even just a customer, a lead on Facebook advertising. And so of course he's salty, and I don't blame him. There's a lot of fly-by-nights. There's a lot of people who just have no idea what they're doing. And and I don't mean to toot my own horn, but my colleague's one of the best in the business to where he got results for people to get to elected office. If you can get people to show up at the poll, put pants on, go to the poll and vote for you, you've done something right. He's 30 and he's one of the best in the business. And I'm like, if you can't get him an ROI, homeboy is screwed.
Right, because that says something about the business.
Yeah, and so that's kind of, where I'm at with it is I put it in my contracts actually, like we don't make guarantees because things change so much. Like, it's in my contracts.
And that's so honest too, because there are a lot of people in marketing who use words in such a way that they're really implying things that you cannot guarantee.
Yeah, the algorithm could change tomorrow.
Yeah. But whenever you stick to the fundamentals, and I think that's how your first project was so successful, because you looked at what needed to happen, like who's going to use the website, what do they need to do, and how simple can we make it for them?
Mm-hmm. My guilty pleasure subject is psychology. I literally am about this close to getting a Psychology Today subscription. Like, because, and I'm an AMA, American Marketing Association. I have quarterly, they send me Journal of Marketing Research. I mean, like, it's a full-on academic journal, and I'm like, what is half of this? And then you start reading it, and you're like, oh. And I keep you know, I read on the trends, I read on algorithm changes, I read on like a lot of this. I don't finish books, but I'll read articles all day long. And you like, and people are like, well, how do you know people are going to respond like that? I'm like, because I do enough research into how the human brain works to know how to influence it.
Right. Right.
If you do the research, everything is up here.
And so much of it is so much of design is understanding how the human brain works and what's the
psychology. Like if psychology and business had a baby, you would outcome with marketing. That's the baby.
Wow.
Like it's true, because like marketing and sales, like you're influencing someone's buying decision, or like whether to do business with your company or not, to buy your product or service. That's all you're doing. Like it's ethical manipulation for profit.
Yeah.
Like, and manipulation gets a bad rep because of like what it's usually used for, but it's true.
Right. And manipulation is not necessarily a bad thing. Like when you take it out of the context of, what it's usually used for, it's more of a massaging and, a subtle, approach. But I sometimes think that people are so used to that style of marketing that it's a lot more successful than it should be.
What, outbound marketing, where it's just like push?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, like if you've been in marketing any time in the last 5 years, inbound is the name of the game right now.
Right. Yet still, we see a lot of pushy. It's getting better. It's getting better. I
actually wrote a whole blog article. I'm like, dear boomers, you suck at marketing to millennials. And then someone brought it up recently in like an interview, and he was like, I was rolling when I was reading this. And I'm like, I mean, I had to put them on blast because they're terrible with it.
The boomers are terrible with it?
Oh yeah, they're terrible at marketing for us.
Yeah. It's my understanding that millennials are actually pretty savvy marketers, because you've grown up with the technology.
Yeah, we grew up in like the greatest economic decline since the Great Depression, and we're saddled with more student loan debt in this country than we are credit card debt nationally. Like when student loans outweighs credit cards, that's a problem.
Yes, that is a problem. We have a lot of work to do in this country. So what is your advice to aspiring agency owners or business owners who would like to create a marketing service?
So for the business owner, I would say be genuine, especially in this town in Vegas. People can smell BS a mile away. And I think it's because, like, we're entertainment capital of the world. We get people from all walks of life, and we also have some of the pushiest salespeople where it's like, hey, if you get this timeshare or whatever, it's like, no one cares. Be genuine. Like, no, people will be able to sniff that out like that. And, figure out what actually makes you special. Like I said, nobody cares that you're different than one single competitor. People care about what void, what hole are you filling within your space that people can absolutely not refuse.
Right. And what's your
and like for the agency owner, it's being honest with yourself. And I mean, that goes to like even just any entrepreneur ever, whether you're starting up or you've been at it a little bit and you're trying to improve. Like, you really got to be honest with yourself. I see I'm taking a break right now from it, but I'm involved with SCORE as a mentor. SCORE is a resource partner within the SBA. I just got my full on like mentor credential back in like August, but I had been doing it for about a year. Like I started doing sessions about a year ago now, and
Wow.
it's you really got to be honest with yourself about what you can and can't do. And my philosophy that's got me this far is figure out what you like to do, what you can do, and hire for everything else you can't be bothered to do or you're not good at. Because we all have strengths
Yeah.
and weaknesses, and part of the change of more modernized, urbanized society from the hunter-gatherer days was three words: specialization of labor. That's what created modern society. We figured out, okay, I'm good at marketing strategy. I'm good at the overall project management. But man, you cannot pay me enough to write, so I hire a content writer. Or you can't pay me enough to do graphic design, so I hire a graphic designer. Or oh my god, I need someone to help me keep my business in line. I hire an assistant. Like, figure out what you're good at, what you want to do, and hire for absolutely everything else. Because people are like, well, isn't that expensive? And I'm like, no, it doesn't have to be. Like, you take care of like your legal stuff, your workman's comp insurance and stuff like that. You take care of all your HR nonsense. You can put everyone on part-time W-2s. You don't have to worry about a lot of things. Just make them track their time and pay them when you're paid. Like, but it's a matter of a lot of entrepreneurs, they are control freaks, and it's sick. It's sad actually, because it's if you want your baby, if you consider a business a baby, that baby has to go to school, that baby has to make its own mistakes, that baby needs to socialize. It's just like training a dog. Like, you have to socialize that dog so it knows how to interact with other people and other dogs.
Right.
And like, the business has to learn that on its own. It's gonna fall, it's gonna break his leg, it's gonna mess up, but you gotta let it make it. You have to like let go of the control so it can make its own mistakes and learn from it.
Right. So true. And then it helps the economy. It spreads the work out, adds more input. And so before we wrap up, I want to make sure that people know where to find you. I want to ask, do you have any advice to business owners who are looking for a marketing company?
Like, if they were looking to hire me or anyone in my field?
Right.
Interview them. If it doesn't feel right, don't do it. Like, I mean, there's a lot of sketchy people. I won't lie. There are a lot of sketchy characters in this space, but if it doesn't feel right, there's a reason why your gut is your second brain. It's trying to tell you something.
So true.
And second of all, ask lots of questions. If they don't know the answer, they should be saying, I am not sure about that, but I will look into it for you. If someone is trying to make you guarantees and you have no idea their history before that meeting, run for the hills. Anybody who promises, like you're in for promises not kept. And like, if you use a little bit of intuition and just overall, like, I don't know if I really like this person, doesn't matter how minor it is, don't do it, because it's going to be otherwise a waste of your time and money.
Right. So true. And
you
how
can gain money back, but you can't get time back.
That's for sure. And how do you keep your love for the business going? How do you, yeah.
I like that I can combine both the analytical left brain and my creative right brain and use it to help people in their businesses. I've always wanted to own a business. Ever since I was like 5 years old, I wanted to own a business. And I like the challenges, even if some people can act like Karens. I like just everything. Like, you're in for the ride. You're in for the whole roller coaster, not just the climb up. You have to deal with the loops. You have to deal with, kind of like the whiplash at the end when the train finally stops, and you got to be willing to go back another round, because it's business, it's life, and we're dealing with human beings, and humans are unpredictable.
Human beings and technology together are a very special thing.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. I want to end with this sassy note that you, is that cool?
Yeah.
Well, first, these are probably not your words, but if you haven't listened to Delsignore before, you should probably put on your big kid panties when you tune into the Marketarian, which was your podcast, right?
Yeah, I actually probably did say that.
Oh, that's so funny. You said, I'm not here to spare anyone's feelings, and the
No.
market isn't going to spare your feelings either.
No, it won't.
Which is so true. The market will chew you up and get rid of you like yesterday's trash. I want to help you make your wallet fatter.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That is awesome. So anyway, where can people find you
All right.
online?
You can find me on LinkedIn by my first and last name. I'm pretty sure I'm the only one in Vegas with my name, so I don't need to worry there. But Liz Delsignore, D as in Delta, ELSIGNORE. You can find me at revolutionpromotions.com. Rebel as in our mascot, which I actually happen to be wearing a UNLV sweatshirt right now.
Woohoo!
Rebel UTION promotions.com. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. You can just look up the company name and you'll find them all.
Revolution Promotions.
Yes.
Love it. So revolutionpromotions.com, Liz Delsignore on LinkedIn.
The company page should come up too, and then Revolution Promo. It's just a shortened version of the name. Is the like for Facebook, and Instagram, and Twitter.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm definitely going to look you up. It was awesome chatting with you today and learning about your business and so many profound things. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to be here last minute.
Sometimes those are the best, right?
Yeah. Special shout out to Guy because I love him.
Yes, we love you, Guy. Well, thank you everyone for watching The Love of Business. Do stay tuned for more great shows at prconnectionsradio.com, the voice of new media.
All right, take care, everyone. Happy holidays.